Welcome, coffee lovers, to this journey behind the scenes of your favorite morning beverage. Today, we'll explore the fascinating process of how coffee is made, from the humble bean to the delicious cup you hold in your hands. First things first, the backbone of any great coffee is the coffee bean. It all begins with a tiny seed nestled inside a bright red coffee cherry. While these plants are initially native to tropical Asia and Africa, they have now spread their roots globally, creating what we know as the coffee belt. Thriving in specific regions with warm, humid climates like Central and South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Naturally, coffee trees demand conditions like ample sun, frost-free environments, abundant rain, and well-draining soil. The regions where these conditions converge birth the finest coffee beans. There are two types of coffee beans used, the robust Arabica and the hardy Robusta. Arabica is usually seen as the aristocrat of coffee that offers a sensory symphony with its sweeter and more diverse flavors. However, this refinement comes at a cost. The challenges of meticulous cultivation. Getting this kind of seed to grow is often the hardest part, as it is more difficult and expensive to grow. On the other side of the spectrum stands Robusta, with its harsher notes and higher caffeine content. However, it thrives in less forgiving conditions where growing the beans is also a lot harder. One thing to keep in mind is that the type of beans and their origin play a pivotal role in determining the flavor profile of your brew. From the vibrant hills of Ethiopia to the lush landscapes of Colombia, the choices are endless. Once the cherries ripen, they are carefully picked by hand or machine. This is a delicate process, as only the ripest cherries will yield the best coffee. Transitioning from the coffee plant to the green coffee bean involves a careful process of extracting beans from the coffee cherry and subsequent drying. This critical step yields green beans awaiting their metamorphosis in the roasting chamber. The processing methods are as diverse as the flavors they produce. There are two main methods for processing coffee cherries, the dry process and the wet process. The dry process is a method that has been used for the longest time. Here, the cherries are simply laid out in the sun to dry. The idea is to let the coffee cherries ferment under the sun, followed by the removal of the fruity pulp. The beans absorb sugars during this process, resulting in naturally processed coffees renowned for their sweetness. As simple as it sounds, this method demands careful attention, as cherries left unattended can succumb to the sun's harsh rays and become useless if left out for too long. Then we have the washing process, also known as the wet method. This process involves removing the pulp and fermenting the beans. The key attribute is to eliminate the fruit before fermentation, yielding a more consistent and cleaner tasting coffee. However, the environmental challenges posed by wastewater management add a layer of complexity to this method. Now, processing the cherries can involve using one of the main methods or both. That's where honey processing comes in. Honey processing is basically a blend of the previous two. It is a more recent method that involves retaining some of the cherries before fermentation and drying. Once we've got our hands on the finest beans, it's time to roast them to perfection. The roasting process is the key stage that is responsible for developing the flavor and aroma of coffee. It is this process that allows you to get that familiar brown color you see at coffee shops. The beans undergo a transformation, changing color, releasing aromatic oils, and developing their distinct flavor. The roasting time and temperature? Well, that's a closely guarded secret. Roasters carefully control the temperature and time to achieve the desired roast level, from light and fruity to dark and smoky. Light roasts preserve the origin's essence, boasting bright fruit and floral notes. Medium roasts embrace caramelization, adding a nuanced sweetness. Dark roasts, however, derive their character from the roasting process itself, unveiling toasted flavor notes and a full-bodied profile. Moving on to the next step in our coffee journey, grinding. Just before brewing, the roasted beans are ground to a specific size. The grind size will affect the extraction of flavor and the strength of your coffee. Hence, it's essential to select the right grind size for your brewing method, whether it's a coarse grind for French press or a fine grind for espresso. Now let's talk about the actual brewing process. There are various methods to extract the goodness from those finely ground beans, each with its own unique flavor profile. Popular methods include drip coffee makers, French presses, pour-over cones, and espresso machines. From the simplicity of a drip coffee maker to the sophistication of a pour-over, the choice is yours. Furthermore, the water temperature and brewing time are critical factors in achieving that perfect balance of flavors. Lastly, the finishing touch to our coffee masterpiece. Whether you prefer it black or with a splash of milk, the additions are a personal touch. Also, the presentation matters. A beautiful crema on top of an espresso or a latte art masterpiece can elevate the entire coffee experience. Finally, it's time to sit back, relax, and savor the fruits of this long journey. Take a moment to appreciate the complex flavors and aromas of your coffee, knowing that each cup represents the dedication and hard work of many people. Next time you sip, remember, it's not just a drink, it's a whole vibe. From the plant's sunny hangout to the beans' tan makeover and the groovy brewing finale.